Hello, everyone. I am here today with Karen Brody. She is a Yoga Nidra teacher and trainer, a rest coach, and author of very amazing book, Daring to Rest. And I would like to talk to her today about all the ways that we can use this beautiful practice of Yoga Nidra and of real rest to come to ourselves, to deal with the hard situations, to manage circumstances that can be unimaginable, and how we can channel this beautiful practice and the what it brings within us to be the best versions of ourselves, especially if the times are very hard. So, welcome, Karen. Thank you for being here today. And maybe if we could start a little bit with talking about how did you find your path to Yoga Nidra and to becoming a teacher of rest?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here and for this important conversation. I really came to rest by accident. I didn't think I needed rest. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't consider myself a napper or somebody who would lay down. And I actually just stumbled into a yoga studio. I wasn't really a big yogini even.
Mm.
I I had done a little bit of yoga and I thought, well, maybe I'll take a bendy, stretchy kind of yoga class. But then I saw like 25 women lying down with pillows and blankets and they just look so blissed out, and it was like
Yeah.
the best nap of their lives, and I thought, "I want what they got." I don't know what that is. I didn't know that was yoga, because yoga we think about as the asana kind of movement yoga. So they said, "That's Yoga Nidra," and I was like, "What is that?" And I wasn't really sure I wanted to pay for it, to be honest, because I thought I could just
Right.
at
If you're just
home.
lying on the ground, yes.
Yeah, yeah. But I did, and I signed up, and it changed my life. Like, I didn't understand what deep rest was until I experienced Yoga Nidra, and I had been a meditator. I had been a meditator. I knew all about meditation. I'd actually led days of mindfulness at my home. So I was very seeped and and connected to a sangha where I meditated. But Yoga Nidra was a whole different experience for me. And
Mm.
so from then on, I became like obsessed with resting, lying down, like giving myself deep rest. And that's Yoga Nidra's even beyond deep rest, but it's so deeply nourishing for our bodies, for our souls, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of it. It was like all within Yoga Nidra. So I just really loved it so much. And I began dedicating myself to it. And I had had panic attacks for years. I had had many years of severe panic attacks. So I didn't realize when I found Yoga Nidra how useful it would be as a practice to actually help me become more of the witness of my life and kind of this expanded consciousness that
Mm.
Yoga Nidra gives you, takes you out of that ego mind and I stopped having panic attacks, and I've never had them since, and I had very severe my father had severe panic attacks, going to the hospital, thinking we're gonna die, all of this, and so this was like a miracle. I thought, "What is this practice?" And I wanted to know more. So I got trained, and I wanted to teach it at first to moms. I taught Yoga Nidra 40-day programs to moms for years, and then I expanded to teach even more people and then train people in Yoga Nidra.
Yeah. And what you just said about how Yoga Nidra works way beyond our physical body, right? When we take a nap or when we sleep, of course, a lot of also incredible and magical things happen. But it's a little bit different, right? Because during Yoga Nidra, we go through several states of consciousness, of awareness, and we reach very deep places within ourselves. So could you tell me a little bit about these five bodies that you base your practice on and how they're all connected and how we reach and benefit from reaching each of this body during a Yoga Nidra practice?
Absolutely. Yes. And I should have added with my story that actually my deepest commitment to Yoga Nidra really started after I experienced a trauma, a very violent trauma. And that's when I realized I have to rest in the unrest. Like that that, I could focus on just how unrested the situation was, or I could also include rest and this deep rest. So yoga nidra, yeah, there are these five bodies, right? They're called the five koshas, and yoga nidra takes you literally from your physical body into a more energy body, and then mental emotional body, and then there's the more of this witnessing kind of body that you go into. It's a wisdom body. And then the bliss body, which is this expanded state of awareness. So it's like we have the physical body that we always see, but then there are these unseen bodies that exist within us, and they become more and more subtle. So we don't sense them as easily unless we go into deep states of consciousness. But we're not just our physical bodies. I mean, anyone can kind of figure this out just in the sense that you walk into a room and, how do you feel in that room? Well, that's your energy body, like picking up the
Yeah.
intuition, like, "Oh, okay," or you speak to someone and you're like, "Ooh, I didn't get a good vibe from that person." Like, your energy body's reacting to that. You can't really say maybe someone said something not so nice, but really, that energy that you're picking up, your energy body senses these things, the mental emotional body, what I love about yoga nidra, a practice like yoga nidra is that it helps us to go beyond the physical body, to touch into these other bodies, and they're like a deep clean of your whole
Mhm.
system so that you can see there are these veils of illusion that we live with. So when they're um, not so balanced, we often feel confused about reality, about our true nature. And the more we rest into these different bodies, these five bodies, the veils lift and we can
Mm.
see and access our true nature, who we are, our full potential more and more. So, all of these ways of being, a lot of them are conditioned. They're pre-programmed. They're things that we learned when we were younger, and maybe they served us to survive our youth. But as an adult, we we sometimes still live in those wounds. So what's beautiful about these five bodies is that you can literally like reprogram your whole body to a higher frequency, which I would say is a more of a rest frequency when you lie down and you tend to the five bodies. And that's what yoga nidra, every time you lie down, this is what happens.
It's beautiful. You said that we can clean our system from all the noise and really see ourselves as we truly are. I think that's one of the things that I love myself about the Yoga Nidra the most because it seems like such a simple practice. And as you said, like you were like, hey, should I pay for this? They're just lying down. I can also lie down under my blanket at home, right? But it's not the same as a nap or just lying down. And can you explain your point of view on why what we think is resting, like I don't know, watching a movie or doing something that we consider resting, why it's not really resting? Why this is not the deep rest that we actually really need?
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that. Well, I think a rested life includes active and passive ways of resting. So, we're going to incorporate that into our lives, active and passive. But true deep rest is really about doing nothing. It's literally powering our bodies down to do nothing. It's the counterpoint to activity. So in most people will say, "Oh, I'm going to rest. I'm taking, Saturday to rest," and they'll go see a girlfriend. They'll talk on the phone. They'll do this. They'll read a book. They'll go, and those are fine, but that's still active. So this is more of a passive rest. Real, true, deep rest is when you get really still. It can be prayer is like rest, meditation, something where you're really still and doing nothing. And that's really hard to do in our world today. It's super hard to do. So a lot of these other things are relaxation, which can be, which is great, but rest is when you power your body down to, well, in practice like Yoga Nidra, to really zero, meaning zero thoughts. You're literally going to a thoughtless state. So that is like, imagine what is stress? Stress is our thoughts like looping and ruminating and all of that. And so if you can take your body to a place where you are more or less thoughtless, I mean, then you're giving yourself a break from all the stress each time you rest. And, when you read or when you go exercise, they're relaxing maybe, but that's not deep rest.
Yeah. And you touched on something really important here because you said like yoga nidra is like meditation. It is form of meditation, I would say, but it's not quite the same as other types of meditations. Can you explain why?
Yeah. So in most meditation, you stay actually in your waking state, in your beta brain. You follow your breath, you follow a mantra. So you are usually in the waking state in your beta brain. In Yoga Nidra, it takes you from waking to dreaming to deep sleep to a fourth state of consciousness to a place, well, it's known as Turiya, but even beyond to these expanded states of consciousness, like a super conscious state. And you cannot get there. It's literally, some people call Yoga Nidra a sleep based meditation, but it's really even beyond sleep. So,
Mm.
sleep, you can go into delta brainwaves and theta brainwaves, but this is even beyond that. So it was like astounding when I practiced it. I was like, I have never felt so almost, I mean, it kind of is frightening to think about, but people might think, "Oh, well, being in a coma or dead, it is scary," but actually think about how peaceful it is. This is why people say rest in peace, right? Because you're without your thoughts. You're literally floating like you that you're at peace, and you are at such deep peace in Yoga Nidra that I really feel as if everyone practiced something like this, and it doesn't even have to be daily. In the beginning, I only practiced once a week, and it made a huge difference. So it really, I think we have to give up perfection, first of all. You know,
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
we have to let go of that mask of perfection. Yoga Nidra and any kind of rested life is about presence, about being present, not being perfect at it. So the more different ways we can give ourselves rest, we become more present. And it's not always just Yoga Nidra, as much as I love Yoga Nidra, but sometimes we have to kind of titrate our way there. We have to go slowly to before we can. And like for me, it was the actual trauma that I experienced that made me start to really dedicate myself to practice more often. And in fact, that's when I started myself practicing for 40 days, doing 40-day practices. And then I started teaching this to others because it was so powerful to practice daily for 40 days. But not everyone's ready for that. That might not be for everybody. So you have to meet yourself where you are.
Very important, especially when we find ourselves under very complicated circumstances. Expecting too much of ourselves can have the opposite effect, right? And yoga nidra, I feel that it's the type of a practice that you can have it long and you can have it much shorter, and it still can bring you an amazing benefits. So even if your practice is short, even if choose pre-recorded yoga nidra, or you maybe if you're a little bit more advanced, if you can actually do also yoga nidra to yourself, right? You can just go over scanning your body. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there are certain stages and there are elements in yoga nidra practice that require some time, but again, it's something that you wrote in your book that just by lying down on the ground and in nature even better than on your house floor, but if it's possible, it's already doing something incredible to your body and your nervous system.
Yeah. I mean, grounding ourselves and literally grounding ourselves or earthing. I mean, if people Google earthing, you will find a lot of actual scientific studies about being on the earth. So ideally, and even if you're in a city, if you can get to any place where there is some grass or some, the ground, just taking your shoes off and then
Mhm.
walking around. So you don't even have to lie down if you don't want to lie down, but just doing a very slow, mindful walk. Thich Nhat Hanh likes to talk about walk as if your feet are kissing the earth, and so really with a sacredness, and so you're walking on the earth, that can balance our nervous systems very quickly. That is literally like 5 minutes of that a day. But if you're in your home and you're not, or you can't get outside, you can literally go to the ground. You can imagine the earth beneath you. There's
Mm.
Don't use our imaginations enough, right? And I grew up in a city. I did not grow up with a lot of green and trees and everything else. So, use your imagination. Bring nature to you in your imagination. And then literally lay on the ground 3 minutes, 5 minutes when you wake up in the morning before you go to sleep at night, just maybe those bookends of the day. If you can do that, that can be enough and really powerful to give yourself 3 to 5 minutes every day on the ground. It's very regulating for the nervous system.
There's also something about like how we feel when we stand or sit out comparing to how we feel when we lie down, because the whole weight of our body is being supported by whatever beneath us, right? So also from this perspective, I always feel like just the notion of lying down, it's already kind of, releasing your body from carrying itself and giving yourself to the ground that is supporting you. So, in the moments when you feel unsupported or unsafe, there is this beauty in this presence, in the simple thing of lying down, that you can just imagine and feel that you are being supported by something, by the earth, right? If there is nothing else that you feel that you are supported by at the moment, there is always the earth that is supporting you and it's available 24/7 for your benefit. And this is where the practice of Yoga Nidra starts, right?
Absolutely. And we are nature, and nature is always holding us if we can just remember that. And when you lie down, and you have the opportunity to feel more held. I will say for people with trauma, sometimes it's if they're in their home, it's easier to place yourself where you're facing the door so that you actually and having the door open, some people feel you have to play with what feels most comfortable for you. And sometimes just placing your hands on your heart or heart and belly when you're lying down can help you feel more grounded and more safe. So everyone's different. Just play with it. I'm just really encouraging people because just to say laying down, everybody's a little different. Some people feel a little more stimulated when they lie down, especially if they've had a trauma while lying down. So it could be just putting your hands on your heart and your belly and know that you're sovereign. You are, yeah, that you are safe within yourself.
Right. You are safe within yourself in this moment when we are surrounded by threat and we are not really feeling safe. How can we use the practice of Yoga Nidra? Because one of the first stages of Yoga Nidra is just grounding ourselves and bringing this feeling of safeness. What would you say that could be a practice, as a modified practice, of really bringing ourselves to here and now and finding this moments, these minutes of peace, of safety, even if the world around doesn't seem safe at the moment?
Yeah, so it's very challenging to rest in unrest, right? It's definitely more challenging. This is where we find the little ways, the ways of even when our phone rings, taking a breath before we go to our phone, and all of these ways of being a little more present. Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Peace is Every Step, is very useful in this situation because peace is every step. And it literally, we have to keep reminding ourselves. So, can we slow down our walk to the car and know that, this may feel like an unrested situation, but we have to remind our bodies by slowing down. We often can remind ourselves that there is also the presence can bring us, like, if you can meet the discomfort, and it's hard to meet discomfort, but even every morning saying, "Hello, I see you," and speaking to the restlessness, speaking to that and saying, "I see you, and I'm here for you, and I'm gonna do 3 minutes or 5 minutes of laying down on the ground today with you," so that the restlessness knows that you're seeing it, you're not pushing it away. That's one thing. One of the things that I really love, and I did this a lot after I experienced a very traumatic, violent incident and felt like there was violence all around me for 2 years. So Peter Levine, who is a trauma expert,
Mhm.
he's taught these self-holding techniques, and they're really, really simple. You literally put one hand on the heart, one hand on your forehead, and just you breathe naturally, but until you feel a little bit of a shift or you feel complete, and then take the hand that was on your forehead and put it on your belly. And it's a two-step hand-holding process, self-holding process that can be done when you wake up in the morning, before you go to bed at night. We need to hold ourselves tenderly in times of unrest. So there's
Yes.
many, many different steps we can take, but breathing, coming to your breath, self-holding, those are usually my 2 go-tos. I mean, there's alternate nostril breathing, which is for anxiety. So, there are other specific breathing techniques, and anyone can Google that on, you know, YouTube, and they'll be able to see what alternate nostril breathing is. It's very good for the right and left sides of the brain. This is what Yoga Nidra does, actually balances the right and left sides of the brain. Yeah.
What else Yoga Nidra does when we lie down to rest? What else is happening? If you would like
Oh,
to, I
wow.
know it's not so easy to explain, but if someone say, okay, so I'm gonna give it a try, but what is really gonna happen? What can I expect?
Well, I think at a very basic level, you're being guided into deeper states of consciousness. So, you're doing, for someone who's new to Yoga Nidra, all you're doing is listening to a voice guide you, and you're following instructions, and you don't have to follow every instruction. You totally have choice not to follow an instruction. If you don't, then follow your breath for a while. Like, just notice the inhale and exhale and come back to instructions when you want to. But Yoga Nidra takes you literally into the deepest sleep imaginable. I mean, it's the fourth state of consciousness beyond conventional sleep, where you are at peace. So you literally are going, first you're starting with a body rotation, and the body rotation, you're just bringing your awareness to different parts of the body and relaxing the body, although body rotations can be not so relaxing for some people. So the invitation is just to meet however you're feeling. And then we go to our breath, and we start to balance the next body, which is the energy body.
Energy, but
Yeah, and then we pair opposites, which is really, really powerful, and this is the mental, emotional body, and in this body, you begin to, I don't wanna say switch out of, but, like, we've been trained to be in this either/or in life. Either it's this
yes.
or that, and imagine how
Hmm.
exhausting that is. It's that separation. So this starts to bring us more into union, into a state of oneness. And when we pair opposites, it's like, yes, it's hot and cold. Can we feel hot? Can we feel, it's simple as that. Sometimes, and there's
Yes.
all different opposites. But when you feel two opposites, usually there's a birth of a third way. And in the mental and emotional body, your ego mind just begins to fall back. So if you think about also what stress, our ego is like thinking it sees things when actually, there's more there that we don't see when we can't access other states of consciousness. So all of a sudden, if the ego mind falls back, you go into more of a cosmic mind, more of this expanded awareness. And so, like, if you think about it, our vision's like this, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden you can see like this.
Yeah.
Like, the neighbor who is an asshole, suddenly you go, oh, I have a little compassion for them as well, because actually they're more than just the person knocking on my door 10 times a day or whatever. Oh, they're scared. They're this, they're that. Like, it expands. You're more in a cosmic mind. And you then enter the space of being the witness, which is the wisdom body, which is this gorgeous awareness that everything can be happening just as it is, and you can be the observer of it as well. So that you're not denying reality, but you are witnessing it. And the moment you witness it, you begin to disidentify a little bit more with the where the cortisol goes in our bodies, like the activation kind of begins to cease as much. So it's like, oh, okay, yes, panic attacks, I see you. And not all of me is a panic attack. Like, there's other things that reside within me other than this panic. So you're observing it like it's a movie. And learning witness consciousness is huge because everything can freak us out in life. Many things are there that are
True.
freaking us out. And so the moment you can become the witness, it's like, oh, okay, you can see that, this is some messed up stuff. And you can say, okay, I can take one step back. Not that I'm not going to go help people in need, but I can take a step back and I can be also the witness of this. And then, the bliss body, well, once you go to that state, I mean, actually, you can't really even get your taxes done in the bliss body because you're so like, that's and I mean, this is why I mean, it's great to be a monk, I guess, but, you can't stay in the bliss body forever. If you're, like, on a mountaintop, blissed out, you actually can't get things done. You have to save your life and all these other things in real crisis mode. So you have to also but to go and experience bliss body is beautiful because you bring some of that bliss back. You bring some of that joy back, and it's really hard to access joy when we are in unrested situations. So imagine if you could lay down and experience and go to a place where you are touching into joy. And joy simply means that moment where everything stops and you get a baby is born joy.
Right.
You know, a lot of people love that moment a baby's born because it's like you're in the bliss body, takes you right there, you know? Those kinds of things. Being our animals can take us to our bliss bodies. That literally an animal will often release, oh gosh, what it's literally out of my head right now. Oh, oxytocin, the love hormone. Oxytocin, the love hormone, it's like, just go and pet an animal, have a dog kind of smile and pant
Yes.
and love on
Yes.
you, and you're right in oxytocin,
Yeah.
and that's what we need. Honestly, when there's unrest, we need more love.
Yeah.
We need to see the places and the moments, and there may be not a lot of them, but if we hug someone, the oxytocin is moving. So those are the things that to look for. Where can I be closer to love? And rest is love. Rest is love.
Yes, rest is love. And as you said, the practice of Yoga Nidra, it helps you get out of this duality state of mind. It helps you get to understand that you can experience both very opposite sensations or feelings at the same time and be okay with that. And this is something that I believe a lot of people struggle when they are in prolonged traumatizing or hard circumstances, because we automatically feel that, okay, things are really bad. I can't have even one smile today because that would mean that I am not really feeling bad. And I see it in people that they struggle to feel also joy when they feel pain. And I think it's because it's a concept that at least I was never taught that. Nobody even teach me that, okay, you can be sad, but you can be also happy at the same time, right? So many situations we have in life that we are I don't know, maybe we were fired from the job that we actually didn't like, and we are sad because we lost the job, but we are also happy because we actually didn't like this work. And this place of of, as you said, this witness body, right? The place of just witnessing it and accepting that we can experience, there can be this water that can experience those seemingly opposite feelings or sensations or things. This is something in Yoga Nidra that I love, and this is what I feel confuses the brain, as you said, and take us far, far, far. Because our brain suddenly gets like our ego gets like, this is so weird, right? How can you be big and small and hot and cold and powerful and weak at the same time, right? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And this is, I feel, so many times is this moment that this magic during Yoga Nidra practice happened.
It's absolutely the magic moment because also and everything that comes after that, it's as if you're being handed your new outfit, which is your rested outfit, and to live a rested life. The moment you can hold 2 things, the tension, as Carl Jung talked about holding the tension of the opposites, Marion Woodman talked about holding the tension of the opposites. If you can hold the tension of the opposites, you're free in any situation, and it's hard in an unrested situation to do that because you have strong feelings and your nervous system's being attacked and maybe your neighbors are being attacked and all of it. But the this holding the tension of the opposites is our key to freedom and liberation, and that's why Yoga Nidra is such a it's it's a it's a liberation practice, really. It will free you, and what I love is it's hard to teach this holding the tension of the opposites intellectually. What Yoga
Yes.
Nidra offers is the visceral experience, and it can be challenging in the beginning. Hot, cold, cold both? What is you can even think, "I don't know what I'm doing." But then eventually there becomes a moment where your body viscerally has this understanding, and the right and the left sides of the brain are in their healthiest state, which is being able to hold both, everything just as it is. And that's really the rested path. Yeah.
Yes. And I couldn't agree more. And I wanted to ask you, how would you explain the importance of resting to someone that claims, like, oh, I can't rest now. I need to be, I don't know, my life circumstances are hard. I need to deal with so many things. Maybe I'm helping others, I'm providing for others, I'm caring for others. I don't have time for this. We have this very harming beliefs that resting, this deep passive rest, it's selfish, that we need to work hard to rest, that there are times in our life that rest can wait. For example, in crisis situation, when you find yourself, I don't know, maybe you volunteer for 12 hours a day because you are privileged to be able to help others, which is extremely beautiful. But at the same time, if you don't fill your own cup, this is what I believe, you won't be able to be in service to others. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, there's it's a cliched thing of saying, "Put on your oxygen mask before you put on, you know, the others, your children's or whatever," and you think, "No, I'm gonna put my children's on first." No, actually, your children can't lose you. If you wanna be there to help those you love, you have to take care of yourself. So it's a radical decision to rest because we are in a world that's pulling us everywhere. And when we're flooded, when we're overwhelmed, that is the time where we think, I have no time to rest. But it is radical to stop and say, wait a minute, I'm going to serve myself and everyone better if I take this pause. It literally has such a ripple effect. And sometimes people won't rest for themselves. So I do invite them to just realize you're going to be such a better presence for everyone in your life. So if you want to teach your kids peace, rest. Honestly, be peace, right? And in the midst of and the biggest challenges is in the midst of unrest, to be peace is a hugely radical act. And we've seen examples of this where people have chosen this. And, is it is there perfection? No, we're not talking about perfection. We're not talking about resting every minute. but we are talking about choosing to set a tone of rest in your home. And by doing that, you have to be resting to some extent, even if it's taking 3 breaths every morning, 3 conscious breaths, taking 3 breaths every evening, taking a breath together as a family, 3 breaths as a family at the dinner table, or taking 3 breaths with nothing said. Nothing needs to be said. Just 3 breaths so that you come into oneness, because we're so divisive in so many circumstances in life. And we forget that the state of oneness actually brings us the most peace. And it's we're all human too, so we give ourselves grace that we're human. and and just a little bit of rest, I mean, it's another cliche, goes a long way, you know. It does. It
But it's
does.
so true.
It's just incredible how laying on the ground for 5 minutes a day can literally, well, it changes, it helps your nervous system, but it literally doing the self-holding, literally, and everyone's gonna find what works for them. A practice of Yoga Nidra, if someone could do it at least once a week, I mean, I would say more, but like in a situation of unrest, once a week, and maybe the whole family, if they're into it, comes together and rests together, because that's a real peaceful act as well, to
Wow,
have
that's very
people in
beautiful
the household resting together.
meditation.
Or your neighbors. I used to bring my neighbors. We always came on Monday nights and we rested together. And they
Beautiful.
came to my basement. I actually, what didn't even lead it, I decided to put a recording of that I made for everyone, and I would also rest with them. We became so close, these neighbors who all had different opinions about things, and we came together to rest every single Monday. There are so many peaceful acts we can be doing, and I think when we're in unrest, we need to think of what are some of the rested ways we can be. And you know, bringing people to come rest in your home is beautiful, but just remember, it's you and your practice. Everyone has to, you know, having it for yourself is, to me, the most precious piece. But you're going to benefit so many others, and maybe you'll bring your neighbors into your home at some point, or your children will lay down with you, and whatever it is. And maybe they don't want to, but then they'll. What happens is people rest when they hit a wall, when
Yeah,
they can't, when they're burnt out, and hopefully you can do this before you get to that place. And that's why I think we're having this conversation, so that we have people who are fully alive and awake, because a practice like Yoga Nidra is lying down to wake up.
exactly. And this is also, before we wrap up, something that I wanted to touch on how Yoga Nidra help us to bring our best to others, but also to really truly meet ourselves and our best selves, and to stop the noise of our minds. And I myself had a lot of very powerful realizations during Yoga Nidra practice. And I know a lot of other people did as well. And when you lie down to rest and you stop everything and you let this process just go through you, it doesn't matter if you begin or advance, if you don't know what to do, you cannot do it wrong. As you said, like there's nothing wrong you can do. And if you fall asleep, so you sleep. It really, like, you surrender to the practice, and you also reach your heart. There is this place that in Yoga Nidra, of course, depending, there are many ways of practicing Yoga Nidra. There are several schools, and there's some focus more on the heart, some focus more on the other places. But I find that during Yoga Nidra practice, every time I bring my attention to my heart, there's so many beautiful feelings there. There's so many beautiful ideas, prayers, wishes for others. Like, it gets me to the place when there is just this pure love. There is the most beautiful of human being. It's just there. And that's why I always invite others to check themselves. They don't need to believe me, right? To check themselves. And they can find this place. And in the times when there's so much division and hatred and opinions and we feel that we are so separate from other people because of our race or religion or our political views, and we feel more and more isolated and different. We just feel we are different. It's us and them, right? And when you are in the pure state of yoga nidra meditation, you realize that we are all the same. We are all humans. We are all these beautiful creations that should, you know, work together and bring this oneness. And I believe that a lot of good ideas can come from yoga nidra. A lot of beautiful ideas can come from yoga nidra. And we can shine our light so brightly because it comes from this place of oneness and this place of rest. And even for healing, I find it very hard for someone to be able to heal wherever they need to heal if they're tired. I myself was on the healing journey and I was hitting a wall and I wouldn't understand why I can go through this, why I cannot go over this, because I was so exhausted. And it only hit me when I went deep into Yoga Nidra and I said, how could I even expect from myself to heal when I'm so exhausted, when everything is just really messed up and I'm just so tired? So I do feel that it's also not only first step, but because it can be many steps, but it is first step on healing journey. As you said yourself, when you are dealing with your post-traumatic event, you use Yoga Nidra to help you go through it.
Yeah, it was what saved me. Yeah, yeah. And I think that everything you're saying, yes, like 1,000 times yes. I think we just forget how powerful we are. And when we lie down in Yoga Nidra, we remember, and there are instructions there. There are messages for us. Our heart, our soul, there are messages that wait for us. And these messages are aligned to that frequency of love, that frequency of peace. And so it's hard to find that frequency if you're doing and going and just overextended. And so, yeah, the more you can come into this space that Yoga Nidra takes us to, the more you actually, it's interesting. People say, oh, rest is not productive. I find my Yoga Nidras very productive. Are you kidding me? It taught me how to mother my children. It's teaching me how to show up for my mother who has Alzheimer's. There's so many instructions when we lie down. So don't ever think it's unproductive or weak or any of that stuff that we've been taught. It's part of many of us have been shamed to
Yes.
not rest, right? We have families who've said, "Oh, you can rest, when you die." I hear people say this all the time.
Yeah.
In our Daring to Rest community, that their families had said that, that
I
these,
heard I heard the similar sentences also in my life.
yeah.
I mean, not that strong, but like rest is for later, or like all kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So we have a hard time getting ourselves to lie down, but this is why I think rest communities are so important and rest guides and people like you who are teaching Yoga Nidra. And this is why we train people in Yoga Nidra because a lot of times we just need someone to like be on the same planet as we want to be on. So if you want to be on a rested planet, you got to get on the
Yes,
rest.
thank
You
you.
got to Yes, you got to be on the planet rest. And most of the planet is unrest, right? So people are on that unrest. That's that planet. You don't want to be on that planet. You got to get to the rest planet. And the rest planet is like starts with a Yoga Nidra teacher. It starts with a rest community of some sort that hopefully Yoga Nidra teachers are holding space for. And that's why we're teaching people to guide people in Yoga Nidra, so that there will be spaces that will be the planet rest, where you can keep remembering who you are. And when you practice enough, you're then like, rest is a lifestyle. It just becomes a lifestyle. And so, yeah, there's so many benefits to this
Oh,
practice.
we could talk about it for another
You're talking
five
about
hours,
forever. Yeah.
10 hours, whatever, till the end of this week. But I totally agree. And rest is a lifestyle, and maybe even especially in the hard circumstances when we need to bring our best to our families, to our countries, to the whole world. So my message and Karen's message is really give it a try. Take a rest, even if it's the mindful walk, even if it's 2 minutes lying on the ground. If you're not able to do yoga nidra, like really bring yourself rest. That's so important. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I wanted to say so much thank you, Karen, for being here today. And can you tell our listeners where I can find more information about you, your offering, your book?
Yeah, sure. daringtorest.com. All the information is there. I wrote a book called Daring to Rest. It's written as a 40-day program. It's really a love letter to women to rest, to help them rest. And I lead it every year, usually late January, beginning of February. I lead a live experience of that for women. And of course, I train yoga nidra teachers in our Daring to Rest facilitator training program. Again, daringtorest.com is the best place to find it. And we're training rest coaches now too to help people step into a rested life.
To step up to the rested life. Thank you so much. And anyone who would like to know about more about offerings, just check out her website. I'm going to add the link to the show notes. And thank you so much for being with me today here and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and encouraging people to rest because we need it so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.